we're doing it. Come in.
Done.
Wait!
I'm doing it.
Just wait. I have an idea. Hey, you know that flashing thing that Molly told you to never do?
Yes.
There are some very bad people about to come through that door. I need you to do it to them.
Are you sure about this?
You gotta grow that backbone sometimes, right?
But Molly said never.
I know, and she's right. But just this once, please. Make them forget. We're helping you escape now. You have to help us.
Do it for Molly. Deal. Good luck. Thank you.
Okay, you ready? Right, on my mark.
Get down! Everyone! Get down on the ground! You! Put your hands in the air! Get down on the ground! Do not move! Do not move!
And we are live, sort of, on Building a Dark Web special edition, a very special episode where we talk to some unsung heroes of the post-production team for Dark Web, which was quite important. These guys did all or most of our VFX. So without further ado, I will introduce Justin Martinez.
Hello.
Rob Padgett. Padgett.
Yeah, Padgett. Yeah.
I don't know why I said Padgett.
Fancy. Just
Rob
be-
Padgett. And Thomas Marinello.
Hey.
All right. So I know it's been a while since you guys did these effects, and you probably tried to push them out of your memory. But I'm very excited to ask you questions because this was the area in production and post-production on the show where I learned the most. And I still have the most to learn. And we were always moving at like such a breakneck speed that I didn't always feel comfortable asking you guys questions like, well, what does that mean? And how are you doing this? And da-da-da. So now I get to ask you. And thank you guys again for joining on a Sunday. I know you guys are all quite busy, so we appreciate it. And also, I forgot to introduce Tim Nardelli and Mario Miscione are here as well, as always.
Hey.
Or is Mario here? Mario's not here.
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, I am.
Where are you?
You need to be in gallery view, my friend.
I don't know why. Okay, there we go. But I didn't even see your name there for a second. Okay, now I see you.
Surprise.
God, I still need it. It's like I'm back in post-production, live. Okay, so my first question is for Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Drum roll. So I thought we'd use the spider VFX shot as an example, but if there's a different one that you want to discuss, take us through, because the way that we structure these like round tables is, I mean, one, just kind of like a postmortem on what we did, but also for young filmmakers watching this who might be curious how we made it since it was an indie show and you know, we had to work with all these different artists and everything and kind of do it all ourselves to use that as like almost like a film school for people watching. So in your case, take us through the spider or your VFX shot of choice from start to finish, like getting the raw footage, getting the plates, you know. I think you always talked about you had to build a rig, stuff like this, and you needed handles. So like pretend I'm a dummy, which shouldn't be too hard, and talk about that experience from start to finish, because I want to learn and I want people watching to learn too.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when you guys first came to me that originally you needed bugs. You know, you had like the idea, you needed bugs. And so my first thought was like, okay, we're going to have to build some 3D bugs for the shots that you have, you know, because you're obviously not going to have animal wranglers or anything on set. So I remember getting excited because I don't do a lot of 3D modeling. I can do it and I've done it, but like I was excited because I was like, oh, I get to make a spider. I get to make this bug. So from the beginning, I sat down and I use a program called Cinema 4D for my 3D work. It's not widely used for filmmaking, but I think it does the job. It's more used in commercial advertising, that sort of stuff. But but yeah, so I use that. It has all the tools that you need to kind of, hold up to the rest of the, high-end VFX 3D software. And so I modeled the Black Widow. I think I modeled the Black Widow first. And then talking about rigging, yeah, like, so to go through the steps, because there's just so much, that goes into, especially just a 3D model, aside from like putting it in the shot. But once you get the model, so I model, it was basically like clay, like modeling in clay, sort of, probably the best way to describe it. But then the rigging portion of it, like, you're kind of giving it a skeleton. So like, I want to be able to animate it, so I have to give it sort of these bones, and you kind of draw these bones throughout the entire figure, and that allows you to kind of give, in a complicated way, you create all these controls to grab a leg. And then I know that you guys, there was another thing I hadn't done before in there, which was that we needed like them to walk around. We needed roaches to crawl around, which meant that like tons of roaches. I can't animate all those legs, so I had to learn how to sort of rig up these walking cycles where like it's a repeating cycle, so that all I had to do was take a null, like, and drag it and say, I want the roach to crawl over here, or I want the spider to crawl over here, and the legs would follow with it. I had not done that before this project. Like, everything I ever did in 3D or anything was always manual, like frame by frame, like, because I started it in stop motion. So like, to me, that's what it was. Wow. You did it frame by frame, and I was slowly learning the idea of, keyframing, doing all these things in 3D that made the world way easier to work with. But yeah, that was fun. Like, I know that, like some of the shots you had, I would set up basically the controls for the legs. I would set them up so that they could randomize, the movement, so that all I had to say is like, how fast do I want the legs to move? And I can kind of do a slider and slide the level and be like, oh, the legs are going like this, or the legs are going, and I didn't have to do that. And then, so then putting those into so rendering it, like, you guys, I guess typically, I think you do want to have like HDRIs taken on set. So like, sort of a reflection map.
What's that? Explain what that is.
So you, like, if you have a VFX supervisor on a set, most of the time they're gonna either, the old school way is that they would use this silver ball to kind of like take a picture of what the reflections look like as they hit the ball. So you can kind of unwrap that ball and use it as a reflection map on, so, because like, think of like a shiny bug, it's going to sort of see the reflection of the environment around it.
Yeah.
So you would do that on set for each shot. Yeah, obviously, but like, you can get away with just about anything, if you, like, my trick is always to just use the shot that you guys, the footage that you have, and use that, and I create my own like sphere around it. So it's, because half the time, unless it's like a really super shiny thing where you're like, oh, I can absolutely see the reflection in that, you can pretty much get away with, using a frame of video to kind of create your wall. There's a lot of Photoshop involved to kind of like fill in the gaps and kind of imagine where that would go, that piece of the wall would go, and kind of fill it in. But anyways, but like, I was getting to that because I wanted to talk about lighting, which was like matching the lighting on set for the 3D, spiders and all that. And so most of the time, again, if you had a VFX supervisor, a lot of these things are sort of noted, where the lights were, like, you have tons of images to work with, so that what the environment was like coming into post. And they also, a lot of VFX supervisors nowadays use those 360-degree cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically capture the entire world in one shot. It's basically, okay, cool, here's what the environment looked like on set from this point of view, wherever the camera takes that shot from.
So would you say then, for like a low budget indie show where money is tight, do you think productions save more in the long run by spending to have those things like a VFX supervisor up top and getting those shots and making sure do you think you save more in the long run?
I think you do. I think like a lot of people, like, I mean, it depends on your budget. If you have like no budget, you're just definitely not going to have a VFX supervisor on set, and you just got to hope for the best. But yeah, I personally, from experience, it's always going to be good to have either a VFX person on hand, on like that you can call, or on set is even better, just because the littlest thing could become a big issue, like painting out some stupid thing that's behind some person's hair, could take forever. And all you had to do would be like, hey, you want to get that soda bottle out, behind that person's head so they don't have to paint it out.
Yeah.
Those little things can save thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's like the amount of money that you spend on the VFX supervisor on set sometimes totally outweighs that.
That was my experience. And poor Rob did not benefit from us. Like he was much earlier in the process. By the time we got to you, we had like been licking our wounds and learned some things, but poor Rob inherited some really, and Thomas as well, but we'll get to those. And then, and so when you got, and I know we had talked about that shot before we shot it. When you got that footage, the plate footage, were you graded? Was it like an A, a B, a C for what you needed to make your life easier or harder? What, like, give us a grade.
I don't think I ever got any footage that like, that I was like, this is terrible footage. I can't work with this. Like, I thought you guys, all your footage was clean, and I didn't have to paint out a lot of stuff. So I don't know how much, I didn't really pay attention to that stuff. All I ever looked at was, can I track the shot? Like especially for the spider shot, like I knew that you guys were going to hold it with tweezers for that portion of it. So I was like, okay, I know that the tweezers will be a nice point. And so I try to avoid having you guys throw tracking marks and things, because tracking marks mean that you have to take out a tracking mark, so it's extra VFX work. So a lot of, nowadays there's so many great tracking devices like Synthesize. I don't use Synthesize, but it's a popular 3D tracking software program. And I mean, most people that use it regularly don't want you to put tracking marks in. They're like, they can take the littlest, mark that's in the scene and use that as a tracking mark, and they can build these 3D cameras.
Okay, because I had a question for all three of you, so let's vote on it now. Tracking or no?
Tracking marks, is that what you're saying?
Tracking marks, like on, like the crosshairs, like we did it on some of our shots, but then did not for some. So what's the current?
For me, yes, most of the time, but screens, anything that has no detailing, because I use Mocha for my tracking, and Mocha is a planar tracker, so it doesn't track marks, it sort of tracks like a surface of something. So if there's no detail on the surface, like a screen that has reflections, the reflections go the wrong direction as you move the camera. They don't match. So Mocha is going to look at the reflection and track the reflection, and the camera is actually panning this way, so like, I actually do like to have tracking marks on my monitors, but everything else, I actually prefer that there's no tracking marks. Like, I'm on the project I'm on right now. It's like these green screens, and there's all these orange tape marks all over the place. And it's like an the orange tape mark thing is an old school thing. Most of, you can key it out, but like if your footage isn't great, like I had this shot that the color was just not shot well on set. It just, there's smoke flying in the air and messing things up. So these orange tape marks are actually giving me issues. And I was like, I really wish they didn't have that. So most of the time, for me, it's just monitors.
Well, that's what I did was monitors on this one, and there was never a tracking mark.
Okay, we know. Yeah, eventually we had those damn things, but yes, I will never.
At least you turn the monitors on for the most part. I like that. But I was working on a movie where they wanted to put just some overlay on a window in a car, and so they put green X's on the window of the car. Like, guys, you don't need green X's. You're gonna have to spend money taking those green X's off, and all you had to do was just that's a static shot. It's not moving anywhere.
And that's even worse. I think that's when you have an X that goes in front of someone's face. You now have to make up what their face look. You have to track different parts of their face to make up that area that got.
But, this was behind people.
They were just trying to help you.
But there was background going through, and it's like now we got to make up that background behind the green tape. It's like, luckily I wasn't the VFX person on that. I was just the editor. But I was like, you guys, that's not the thing to do.
Wow, God, it's so crazy. And so Rob, so trackers or no? Or do you same as Justin? Like,
I mean, if stuff's clear, then I don't need them. I mean, because yeah, the like Mocha and all those things, you don't need tracking marks for the most part. But this opening shot that I did,
Yeah, we're.
I mean, we can talk about that later. Tracking marks would probably
That's the whole discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes tracking marks are the only thing that save you from like I was on another thing and they had monitors all over the place and so I had them put X's on it. I didn't have to paint out all the little marks that were on it, but I had talked to the dudes afterwards and they were like, yeah, the worst part about it is like the VFX supervisor on set put marks all over the monitors everywhere, so spent tons of time painting them out. And I was like, at the time, I thought I was gonna be doing the shot, and I was like, I want to make sure I can track this, you know, like because this is tons of monitors all over the place, like. So I don't know. Every VFX person has their taste.
So you said you would use the term handles. Is it better to have trackers in a dark environment?
Handles? You mean like?
I remember you saying handle, like
videos. Well,
no. Maybe I had the wrong term.
Handles are just the front and the back of footage.
I didn't mean that then. I meant you had some term for like being able to attach the effect to the plate. I don't know.
It would have just been a tracking mark, if anything, to attach.
I don't remember what it was. But is it better to use tracking in dark environments?
Tracking marks for dark
tracking marks.
I mean, if you can't see, if your footage doesn't show detail, you're not going to be able to track it. So like that's where judgment has to come into play. You know, like if the scene is dark and you're shooting into a shadow area and you need to put something in that shadow area, if the camera can't see it, then you can't track it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've always kind of run with the idea, like, if I can see it, I can track it, whether that means the software can do it for me or if I can eyeball it, you know, and get something in there. Because, you know, not everything is always crisp. Sometimes you get a lot of blurry backgrounds to put something in because the actor is in focus, but the background is way out of focus. Again, if you don't have detail, you can't track anything into it, you know, so then you kind of, you're faking it. But if you're not, you know, like I think that's a different breed to kind of put something in a shot that you can't see any tracking marks, and you know it takes a lot longer.
Floats around and it's in and out of focus, and there's rack focuses, and it's on a I mean, at some point you're not tracking it; you're just animating. You're just trying to make the screens look like they fit.
And does it help when we used? Does it help you when we use or anyone uses a higher resolution camera? Because I know originally we used the Alexa and then we upgraded to the Amira Alexa Amira for later shoots. Did that help any having higher resolution?
Well, Rob, if you want to take this one, I definitely have a response for that.
Yeah, it always helps. Whenever I can have more resolution, I'll take it. I take the resolution back out if we need to.
Yeah. I'm on the same page. Like resolution always helps, just especially if you have small areas that need to be tracked or anything like that. And it usually helps with like green screens as well. But I did run into a thing where they shot 8K, and they sent me 8K footage, and it killed my machine. I was like, I had to down res everything just to work with it, and then up res to go back out, and it was just like, this is a pain. And you guys you're not even gonna finish in 8K. You're gonna finish less than 4K probably. If you need it, 8K sometimes comes in handy, you know, like for certain shots. But yeah, that was the one time where I was like, you don't need 8K.
Like for example, I would guess the infamous like bloody bed shot from Mario and Tim's episode, the higher the resolution for that would have helped, right? Because that was a very dark environment and you were adding blood and stuff.
Yeah, but like again, the resolution doesn't really, the lighting makes more of a difference in that situation than the resolution. Like resolution to me it's not that necessary, because I mean I've put, you know, VFX into like low res VHS, you know, tape stuff, you know, like it's like, again, if you can see, you can put something in it, is my motto. And so like, but
noise is probably more important to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Less
like,
noise.
Yeah.
Because otherwise your tracker's trying to track the noise.
Yeah.
And if I could say something real quick to that note, Justin did an incredible job animating that scene. Back when Mario and I were working on the editing, we had to get blood on that bed somehow, and it just seemed like it was so challenging trying to make it look real and not fake. And Justin did an incredible job making the blood look real, so that way when Ashley came by the bed, there was like blood all over that bed. So
I'm curious, actually, is there anything? Yeah, that shot turned out great, but it was a struggle. We had a lot of people take a look at it, and it was a big struggle. Is there anything we could have done with that shot in particular to make that, like, would tracking marks in scene have helped for that? Would that have just been a bigger pain?
I mean, if I was there, I would have said, "Can you put blood on there?"
Yeah, no, right. We would have done it practically. That day was
blood,
so crazy.
Yeah, blood is always tricky, man. It's like it's such a, like, I hate sort of working with blood sometimes just because it's so easy to come out really bad, you know? Like, and it usually takes a lot longer, more effort to look real. I can't remember how I did that shot.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. How did you do it? Because it has a very, like, you know, you sort of, the camera's moving, there's like 3D space involved, and there's a lot of different planes of the bed, and I was just curious if you remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't really remember. There's been so many shots. But I do remember dealing with, like, trying to mimic the reflections that would be on the blood, so that, because that's one thing is, like, that was soaked into the bed, then I probably wouldn't have done reflections.
It was just dark. Yeah, it was dark blood, just kind of old on the bed.
Yeah, and then I think I was more worried about getting the track proper for that, and maybe I added a few little highlights or whatever on some of the edges.
Would you use Mocha for that too, do you think?
Yeah, I most definitely would have used Mocha to track that on there. And I think the advantage that's another thing, that with blood, it's usually not, especially if it's on fabrics, Mocha is amazing. So I figured out this, I might have been on your project that I looked it up, so maybe I need to figure out how to put it on fabric. But so, like, if you had like a blood stain on like a shirt, your shirt sort of, you know, like, can like move, and so you don't want to just have one tracking mark, because then this part is sort of moving at a different, you know, place. So Mocha's awesome because you could sort of track this part and this part and this part, and then I would take each corner pin, you know, for each track, and I'd bring it into, I use After Effects, and I learned this technique to sort of like connect all these corner pins to the puppet tool that is in After Effects. So you can kind of create all these little points for the puppet tool to follow, like, that uses the corner pins, the corner pin data. And so you kind of get this track that actually moves with the shirt, or, you know, or skin, anything like that. So I think I did that same thing probably on the bed, because anything that's, you know, any fabric or any person's, you know, skin or anything that's moving, you kind of need to do these little extra warp things. But yeah, I mean, Mocha, I don't even think I could do a shot like that without Mocha.
I think I remember the shot you guys talking about when she was walking into the room.
Yes,
and blood on the wall.
Yeah.
I think I gave it a try, and there was, I think, failing on it. But I think the problem was like the light changes throughout the scene.
Yeah, she's flashing a flashlight, which was the big, like, we absolutely should have done that shot in post that day, or in on set, and practically that day was so crazy. And then when we realized in post that we wanted to do this, we had people looking at the shot, and everyone was just like, "This is like, we didn't have time. Everyone was struggling with it, and we were just like, what are we gonna do?"
We didn't have time to mess up the room, nor did we have time to, like, throw blood.
Yeah, the room was a little bit messed up, but we didn't have time for blood. And so that was one of those things where if we had to do it over again, absolutely it would have been practical. Ultimately, you know, it worked out, but yeah, that was a stressful shot. And I do think, if I remember correctly, I think we ultimately gave you the 4K on that, Justin, as a way of, like, kind of helping a little bit.
Yeah, I do remember it, yeah.
But that was a hard shot.
After the Zoom, I'm gonna go track down that shot because I want to see.
that was.
Okay, yeah. And then I was like, wait, why did I do that?
I was not sure we were going to get that shot done, to be honest, because just everyone was like, this is really not ideal.
Yeah.
Well, it I'm just glad it worked out the way it did, because I remember originally it was just this one piece of blood.
Yeah, originally it was small, and then we were like, we'd love to add more, but this is really, bigger.
And plus, it's supposed to look like, something went wrong on that bed, and
Exactly.
Ashley comes by, and yet there's this one piece of blood on the bed, and Ashley's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it didn't match.
And Haley, the actress who played Ashley, was supposed to be like all traumatized because she was basically looking at an empty bed. That she had to look traumatized as much as possible. So just seeing like that one, spot of blood, it's like.
Yeah, we had trashed the room, but in the shot, because it was sort of a handheld shot, we never got out of the room far enough that you could see it. By the time we got out of the room, the door kind of comes in, and so it was pretty messed up, and she's kind of playing off of that, but it just wasn't in the final shot.
Was she told there was going to be blood all over the place? Is that what her?
No, well, when we just said it was going to be trashed, and I don't even remember if we talked about any VFX for that shot. It was just sort of, we had so much to do.
To our fortune, it played out very nice, because she was supposed to look very scared when she went into that room, and she was going off what Mario had told her, and to our very fortune, Justin was able to come in, put like blood all over the bed, so basically her performance and acting lined up with what Justin was able to get on that bed.
Yeah, otherwise she just would have been really upset by an unmade bed.
They didn't come in and make the bed. Oh my God.
So, Tomas, question for you. So, what are your feelings on tracking points? Do you agree with these guys? And then I want to talk about one of your, I think was your more challenging scene for you was in episode 102, where you were screen replacing all those cell phone shots in the dark when she was getting the Instagram live. But Tomas did so many screen replacements on this. So I'm moving on.
Yeah, no, it was very tiring. Thanks. No, I just did the count how many shots I worked, and I was working on 320 shots. So it was like I didn't even notice it. But
Rob's like, I'm glad
it was fun. It was fun.
Glad I had a kid and got out of there.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
How funny. Both of you had kids to get out of this.
Well,
I'll keep that in mind when I need to get out of something.
Nice excuse. Well, about the tracking marks, I think it depends on the shot. That's only I can say. I noticed I had like some footage from other projects. I needed tracking marks, especially on green screens with some depth, and I had to do like some 3D replacement environment that helped me. Then certain track marks are way overdone and not needed, and they're just like a pain to remove. And then I would have said, okay, I'd rather have a planar tracker and no track marks at all, and I have less work removing them. But it depends on really what shot is planned. And for me, I think the most important thing is pre-planning shots well, and then you save time in post. It usually doesn't happen, but that would be the ideal situation.
I think that's the lesson we learned, and the lesson of the day is like, don't wing VFX shots. Don't like assume you can fix it in post.
Yeah, some things you can't fix.
I do remember when I first met you guys and I first started working on this, it was like I started to feel bad because like there were some things you guys would ask and be like, oh, you really shouldn't have done it this way. It's going to cost so much more, because it was just like the things that you guys needed, you needed it in the shot, So I do remember watching your guys' sort of learning curve kind of develop. Like, we're always learning, but like, I saw it firsthand with you guys.
Yeah, we were little babies learning to crawl. And
and then by the end, you guys were like seasoned pros. And ready to go
that far.
It's a lot to learn. It's very exciting, though. It's very exciting what you can do, like even on a small budget. And it's definitely a thing where like we wrote the series the way that it was and kind of like leapt assuming the net would catch us, which I don't know if it caught us, but I think we caught the net eventually. And but it was great learning from you guys for sure. And I think it's really fascinating what you guys can do, just like from your house, you know, like not even big like post house whatever with tons of machinery and blah 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 blah. I
remember routinely being impressed. Like we would get these shots from everyone, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, that's what it looks like!" Like, oh, like seeing it come together, like from just a wall of, you know, empty white monitors to like actually having stuff on them, and just sort of all these different pieces coming together. It was always really such like a cool part of it. The frame IO approval process, which was so tedious, but it was cool. To go in there and like, you know, see these kind of shots shaping up.
It was also nice. You guys are, I mean, I've worked with quite a few directors, and like it's hit or miss whether or not the director has a vision or if they just want you to do something really cool. And you guys on everything I ever did on this were like, you knew what you wanted. And that's, so for me, it's been rare lately that you know exactly what you want, down to like your title sequence, you know, like everything was so well thought out, and all, you know, for me, I just had to make it happen. Like I
couldn't afford it.
Like my brain too much. Like,
well, thank you for saying that. It's very kind of you. So, Thomas, what was so hard? I want to know what was so hard about that scene. I think that was the most challenging one for you, right? Or was there?
Which one? What was this?
So for Thomas, it was in 102 where he was screen replacing the cell phone in the dark with like this app that we created called Flash Frame. And I just remember like the phone was glitching, and there were a couple shots in there where she was holding the phone and it was very dark that you were struggling with for a little while.
That was the one where the cell phone light was lighting her face, I think.
Yeah.
And then it was a close-up. Well, I had really a problem tracking it because it was really dark, and I had to source it out to somebody else who had Nuke, and with Nuke he did a perfect job. I use Mocha and After Effects, not Nuke, so it's less of a pro app, I would say. Nuke is industry standard.
Okay.
So he basically could do the tracking really well, and I tried it and I couldn't get a good track out of it with the Mocha or After Effects native tracker.
Interesting.
So it was like a little bit challenging. I think it had to do really like with software proficiency. Like basically the guy had better software and could do the job better.
So do you work with Nuke now or no?
No, not now. It's too expensive in my opinion.
Yeah, I ran into that same thing recently where I was like, the project I'm on, they're using Nuke, and I'd never really I haven't dove into Nuke at all. And I was like, I should learn Nuke. Okay, let's go see. And I saw the price. I was like, let's go back to After Effects.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I used to use Shake, which was very similar to Nuke with the node-based compositing, which is great, you know, but, you know, Apple killed it. And so Nuke is the next step up, and
Nuke is
actually way amazing, but just for the regular low-level generalists and like compositors, it's more studio quality, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
And is Nuke specifically for compositing, or is it like After Effects you can build?
It does a lot. It does 3D. It does effects. It's a mixture. You know, it's like what's it called, Fusion, I think, from the other one. It's very similar. Mm-hmm. But Nuke is a typical industry standard. So, you know, it's like it used to be with Maya. Like everybody uses Maya, and now, you know, everything's split up to Cinema 4D or like Maya or like 3D Studio Max or any of those 3D applications. Mm-hmm. But Nuke is still a level up, and they're very strict with like licensing too. So you can't get away with like any illegal.
But the cool thing about Nuke that I saw was that they have a free apprentice version, so you can download the entire full version and like learn how to use Nuke.
It's resolution limited though.
It is limited?
It's limited by resolution, I think.
The resolution. Yeah, which for me, I was like, if I'm learning, that's totally fine. I don't care about the resolution. So I was, but that is nice. There's another 3D app that I want to learn, which is used quite often now, Houdini.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, they're very similar to node based, and they both have this apprentice thing, which is nice. Like if you don't have money and you're not a pirate, and you get an apprentice version, you learn.
True, yeah. It has great like smoke and the fire effects and the like volumetric effects.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
That's-
I'll get
that's interesting.
maybe I'm going to get those, and then I'm going to composite myself out of this Zoom and put
There you
in
go.
and put in Brad Pitt or something.
We need a right. Because I said so. We're not gonna do it until it's right. No, that's not gonna happen. I've explained it 1,000 times. You have to trust me. Look, you don't have any other options here, and neither do I. We've got to make this work. And soon.
Or they'll find us. That's what I've been trying to tell. I know. I'm tired too, but this is important, okay? Shh. I need you to stay calm, okay? Look, it's just you and me right now, but I promise when it's safe, I'll go get help, okay? No, not just anyone, okay? From friends. People we can actually trust. Come on, man. No. You said, come on, don't do this again. Shit. No! You need to listen to me! Okay, fine! What do you want me to do?
So now's the time where Rob stages an intervention on us, where we talk about the opening shot of the show, which is in the basement, which was a nightmare, the likes of which I'd never encountered. And I think it was the first thing we started working on and the last thing we finished probably. And also you hate us from that, the classroom scene too.
That classroom scene, yeah.
So now's your chance to vent all of your frustration out on us, because we can take it and we want to learn. So talk about your experience on those shots. Just tell us everything we did wrong. If there's a couple,
I would take 5 classroom scenes, I think, over that opening shot.
Oof, wow.
Because the opening shot's untrackable. You can't, the camera is all over the place, focus going up, following pipes, coming down. There's things occluding every frame at any point. So you can't get like a corner pin track on anything. And we started back when After Effects was like, we worked on it so long that tracking got better while we were doing the show. So by the end, I was fixing stuff with new trackers that I didn't have at the beginning because Mocha hadn't been updated. And yeah, oh my God,
what was wrong? There was no tracking. That was like our first leg of shooting, and we were children. We were kids.
It's the Steadicam free-floating shot. I mean, it's just, you could have saved so much money and time if you had just found something to throw on those monitors.
Like
just
live,
put something there, like anything almost. But at least, like I said, at least they were on. At least they were on, so we could see it. It's a dark shot, and we could see something. But that's when I wouldn't have mind having trackers, because as the monitor's going behind a post or a bunch of wires, you don't necessarily know what part of the monitor you're looking at. And so I was using like a tracker inception, where I was doing corner pins, and then those were attached to nodes that were attached to other corner pins. Like doing all this weird stuff.
What are nodes? Talk, like, I want to know what you did.
Like null objects. Sorry, null objects that were tracked to other corner pins. They were like, I'd have to go 5 things deep. Every time we wanted to change something, I had to go like 6 or 7 compositions deep just to figure out what it is I needed to fix, and all the blending modes and stuff I had going. I was like, oh my God, this is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Because part of it was my workflow. I try to fix something and just like, oh, I'll fix it, but just, drop this into new composition, slap some stuff on it, and then it would break a bunch of stuff, and I have to go back and fix it again and figure out which one of the things I'm seeing that I'm not supposed to be seeing and where is it. And it was just awful. But the one good thing you did was turn on the monitors.
Okay.
Because at least I have ambient light and I could
Good job, guys.
alpha mats and stuff.
Okay, and so for that one, okay, so the monitors on help.
Lumamats.
You would have preferred tracking marks on all of those monitors, looking back on it, right?
Yeah, probably because they're the furthest thing in the room. So they would have been easy to remove those tracking marks. If they were even if they're just gray, slightly gray on a white monitor.
Yeah, I've started, especially if it's a working monitor, I've created like a green backdrop that you can put on the monitor. It has just like bright enough tracking marks that you can key out both at the same time with the same key, but you have your tracking marks. You can mess with the contrast to bring the tracking mark detail up, and then kind of.
Yeah, and I could have lumamatted out the tracking marks on these monitors.
Yeah, totally, exactly.
Right.
And so why sometimes when we got shots back, and I know you probably hated it when we had the comment, but you'd get like the wobbly effect on the monitors. Is that just because we didn't have tracking? Is that?
Yeah, it's because, that's when something would break. Like I'd move around tracking marks manually. I had to start hand animating it, and so you would move something, and because I had null objects paired with other trackers from different parts of the shot, because the focus was so different and the camera moved through the space and up and around and down, I had to pick points to track, and then those tracks would no longer be relevant, and then had to pick new points to track, and those tracks would no longer be relevant.
Why wouldn't they be relevant?
Because we'd moved past them or they went out of focus. And so if I had
hand animating,
and if the back wall at all had stayed in the shot, it would have been a lot less of a problem. But it kept going in and out, so I didn't have any one place to track. And when it would come back in, you guys were on a slightly wide lens. Everything was distorted, the bottom of the frame. So that's what would happen. I'd move a tracking mark, and it would move a bunch of other stuff, and they would just sometimes it would just wobble. And I wouldn't even notice because it was so taxing on my system that I couldn't even preview half of it. I'd have to render it out just to be able to see what I was doing.
Yeah, so many times wobbling would only show up sort of if you were like looking closely, and I totally, in sort of my limited own experience doing VFX, there's so many times that it looks great in preview and put it out and you're like, this is crap. This is not even remotely what I thought it looked like. And it's just, there's no way to tell until it's done.
Yeah, and I just have to start deleting tracking marks just to get rid of the wobble. And then it would move funny. And Mocha wouldn't track it. Nothing would track it.
Why would the back wall in the shot have helped?
Just because I could have had a constant reference point, so that I could have tracked the camera. Because I can't track the camera. I can't track this camera. It's moving too much. So I think what I ended up doing ultimately was tracking it for a little while and then creating a new track. Tracking it for a little while, creating a new track, tracking it for a little while, and pulling all the assets in and matching them up. It's been years. I don't remember exactly what I did.
Pushed it out of your mind. So was that the most annoying shot you've ever had to do in your life?
Yeah. And it took forever.
Yes! We win.
Yeah, it really was.
No.
And it's one of those things that you look at and you're like, oh, okay. That's okay. Monitors are on. I can see points. It's fine. I'm scrolling through it right now. I'm looking at it.
And that's one of those things, like what you're saying, it took hours and hours of work. Like all that time that you spent on that, you could have been making other VFX better, because when you're on any project, you sort of get spread thin between all the stuff that you have to do.
Yeah.
So like anything that's done right on set that speeds up that process for you to get that shot done gives you more time to work on another shot, and make that other shot that much better.
Yeah, and it literally would have taken, because the stuff that was on the monitors didn't take very much time at all. So it would have taken maybe 2 days to get the material on the monitors. And then you could have, I don't know if those monitors were attached to anything other than outlets. But, put something on there. It almost would have been better if you would have put something on there and then I had to replace the thing that was on there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Then at least I'd have.
Yeah, because then you could have tracked you'd have a reference. So.
Yeah, in a perfect world, they would have had
doing it practically.
and honestly, the only real problem with it is that there's a pillar in the shot, and the pillar is right in between two monitors, and so it covers up just the sides of two monitors, so you can never really tell where the monitor is. And some of that wobbliness is because I'm trying to anticipate the aspect ratio of the monitor at any, or foreshortening or any of that kind of stuff, and just not getting it right. So it kind of stretches out and then snaps back and stretches out and snaps back. But yeah, now it wouldn't take me as long. Now with the technology the way it is now,
It's already evolved that quickly.
Yeah.
Well, not that quickly, but that's interesting. So another question, Justin. Well, actually, for all of you guys, sometime, like for example, the spider VFX shot, you would give us a bid of, kind of 3 different tiers, depending on what we could afford. So using the spider as an example, if we had done the higher tier, if we could have afforded the highest tier, how would it have looked different? Or what would you have done different?
I can't.
If you can remember.
Really remember. I don't remember breaking that up into tiers, but I guess I did. I don't know. Because I think I gave you the best version. Like I was like, it was a Black Widow, right? The Black Widow.
Yeah, the Black Widow. But you broke different things into tiers. Like I remember we were talking about when we were animating the character at the end of 108 with all the different. There were different tier, like how 3D we wanted it.
I think it was just a matter of work and time. Like how detailed do you want to get? How much time do you want this to take? That's kind of how I remember the tiers, just being like, we could go all the way and do this crazy stuff. It's going to take longer. It's going to be more work. Or we kind of, go more 2D with it. It was like that sort of thing.
Yeah, because the spider, I don't remember for the spider because the spider had to look real, otherwise there's no tier level for me with the spider, just because when you say you need a spider, I need to make a 3D model that looks exactly like
it was a cartoon spider.
Should look. Yeah.
$5 you get.
The mirror definitely had room to say, all right, I could do so much more in this, but it's going to take way more time and cost more because of it.
I remember.
What's the more time though? Just like building
more layers, so I did that in After Effects, and most of the VFX that I do, I have to figure out how to do it, because you hardly ever, unless you're painting stuff out, usually a VFX shot is something completely new, like a new challenge, which is surprising because you feel like it should be something you've done before. But I'm always trying to do research or look up on YouTube a tutorial how to do something that is similar but not what I'm looking at. But if I know how to do that, then I know how to do what I'm imagining in my head. And for Mirror, I remember that being super complex, just figuring out, because I'm not good with expressions in After Effects. I think if I knew how to do expressions in After Effects, that Mirror would have been, I ended up doing a lot of expression, but it was me researching, all right, how did I do this? And then applying that, code.
Facial expressions.
No, it's sort of a way to code. It's like a script that would cause, if you wanted, for the simple one would be if you wanted a picture to wiggle, rather than me animate it, I could write in a bit of code that says, oh, just make it wiggle, So for your guys' thing, it was I knew I needed stuff flickering in and out, and you can't hand animate all that stuff. So I would spend time figuring out how to get that effect by, any means possible.
You can't animate it because that's just too time consuming is what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think some of the, I can do a lot more in 3D. Cinema 4D has really cool things that kind of allow you to do similar things that Mirror was doing, with the images kind of flickering out, and the digital glitching could happen in After Effects, but using particles, I could have used particles, but again, that was part of when you move into 3D environment, time, just talk about things that take a lot of time. 3D, I feel takes tons of time for me. Whereas in After Effects, if it's something that can be done in After Effects, can just be like done. Like, but like rigging up, say if I wanted to do the mirror with particles, you know, like, and kind of rig it up so that each particle that sort of appears, the image sort of grows out of that particle, and then that particle dies off, and then so you get sort of this growing effect just by using particles and, you know, different I don't even know what the term would be for the change of the size, but like there's just a lot of time to rig that up, you know, to set that up. And I also, knowing that we needed to do this for many shots, you need something that you could say, I built a template for mirror, you know, where I could say, okay, here's the template for mirror. It has all the layers within it. Now I can copy paste this and replace the images with whatever we need. So you guys needed the facial expression to change. Okay, cool. I'll copy paste this template. Now I'll start working on what needs to change. You know, the eyes need to blink. Okay, this one, the eyes blink. And
so cool. You guys are
artists. Like, I mean, I kind of want to dive back into that, because that thing is talk about, you know, Rob talking about how many different, you know,
what you wish for.
Yeah. The layers he had. Yeah, that one was a beast. I don't think I have anything that goes that deep.
Well, it's funny, because it's funny to listen to you talk about the shot, because I remember you guys presenting that to me, and I said, I can't do this. I just didn't have the system to do it. Like, I couldn't do it on my computer. It just wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
Because of that. Because you needed to have, you know, compositions within compositions and pre-comps and everything set up to do a template, and then it just, the computing power just wouldn't be able to. You do one thing and just sit here and wait. And then
I think ultimately one of the tricks I did, because I was running into like crazy render times, and so I was like, okay, what are parts of this that are almost always the same? You know, like this sort of flickering image is not going to change another shot. So I'd render that out as a layer and say like, okay, this is just a pre-rendered, you know, thing that I can composite with these other elements. And so half the time when I was building mirror, I remember like, as I would go, I was like, every time it would grow, it would take longer to render. So I would have to render out elements, you know, to make the next ones faster. So that template, by the time I was done, had all these elements pre-rendered within it. So I could render, you know, like a mirror shot in like 30 minutes that would have taken like 4 hours. Like,
we love it.
To the point about technology changing through the course of this project and expressions a little bit. When we first decided to do this, we did like a very sort of basic teaser that was mostly text and images. And I did it on my computer here, you know, years and years ago. This is when we first started, 2015 or something. And in it, we needed to have glitches. And at the time, glitches were hard to do. So I did a bunch of research on YouTube. How do we do it? And I used the wiggle expression as one of the things where I was like, oh my God, this is code. How am I, you know, type it in, you draw the little line to the thing and it's wiggling. It's a real pain in the ass. Now, you know, doing the trailer for this after the fact, doing some effects towards the end, and we just recently did, you know, an update to the trailer after some of the nominations. You know, I'm just using plugins like Trap Code or whatever, drop it in, and I have a glitch in 2 seconds. And it's amazing how sort of the tools have evolved so that we can, you know, even like a complete amateur like me can do something, you know, that would have taken me hours before. Now I'm just dragging and dropping.
Well, the funny thing about stuff like the glitches, because I have the Red Giant glitch, you know, because of your show. I'm like, I'm buying this stuff because I don't want to have to keep doing displacement maps.
Right. So, displacement. Yeah, right. All displacement maps. That first one.
Because I think that's all I used for a long time.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is it's kind of in the ether. Like everybody's like, oh, glitches are cool. Glitches are cool.
Yes.
And then it takes a little while and somebody comes out with the plugin for it. So you struggle. And now that everybody's doing them, there's a plugin. So it's easy. Realize how
for all the glitches that I did in your guys' thing, because I don't have Trap Code, I don't have those the things that would make it easy. I remember I downloaded actual video like glitches, you know, like so.
Yeah.
And I use those as displacement layers, you know. So it's like, okay, it follows real glitches, so that should be real.
Yeah, that's all mine are too. Mine are all that.
Yeah.
That's what I used for the first teaser. I just had a flashing thing, and it's actually we also used that video, I believe, to do some reflections on people's faces. We did a lot in post, but we also had things on screen sometimes just going to give some light.
Yeah.
and we just use that video. But yeah, just link it up to a displacement map or whatever. I was like, oh my God, this is, I felt like a real pro doing that, doing that wiggle expression.
So you guys, unless things have changed, are all one-man shows, one-man shops. Like, right? None of you are now working with like some post house in LA or anything, right? So why is that? And what are the pros and cons of that for our tens of millions of viewers that want to know?
For me, I don't like, yeah, I'm still working freelance. I love it because I get to work from home. But the project I'm on right now with the Skyline thing, I'm sort of working with a bunch of other VFX artists in an environment that would technically be in a studio. And it's probably the first thing I've ever worked on where like I'm working with other people and I have to deliver assets, you know, like, and I'm like, I don't deliver assets, I do everything. And then I send the final product. So like the way that, and this, everything they have set up, you know, with an FTP, I'm uploading assets in their folder system, even just learning how to name shots properly. I'm like, oh yeah, I never had to name shots like that before. But that makes so much sense. I'm gonna definitely use that in the future. Yeah. So anyway, I don't mind working with, you know, for a company. I wouldn't mind it, but there's just the fact that I can work from home and do all this on my own computer is so lucrative.
Same for you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind the money of having a studio job, but I really don't want to have to drive.
Yeah.
I just want to stay at home. And it's funny because I just got I mostly
rich
edit
now.
Yeah, well, I mostly edit. Like that's what I do most of the time is edit. It's not VFX, it's edit.
And you're an actor as well, we should say.
I am.
And you have a cameo as Pervert in episode 102 on the screen in Hacked.
Many of us have perverts. All the behind the scenes people were real perverts in that episode.
All pervert cameos.
But it's funny because right before COVID, I was offered a job for some reality TV show. But they wanted me to come to Sun Valley every day. And I was like, I don't want to come to Sun Valley. Can't I just do it at home? And they're like, nope, sorry. So I lost the job, and literally the next month COVID hit. They shut down their production. And then I got hired on another job because I work from home. So,
wow.
I'm actually in the middle of an editing job right now. Like, so I was lucky enough to have a job during this. But
you were totally prepared for this apocalypse.
And but I've been working home for like 18 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's nice to work from home, but you get paid like somebody who works from home.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't pay as well, but it is nice.
Yeah. Pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, what do you think?
Well, I like the visibility. Like I can basically pick projects, and I don't only have to do compositing or After Effects. I can do 3D work. I can do website design or anything like this. You know, I have the freedom to basically express myself creatively. Like be more an artist than being more like a slave laborer. So I prefer that over like being like fixed hired at a studio where you have to do the daily grind.
And you were like James Bond while we were making this. I never knew where you were. You were like in LA. I think when we first started, were you in Russia? No.
Oh, no. I was in LA. We met at the one studio you guys rented in Hollywood.
Yeah, but I think when you first came, you were somewhere else when we were first like talking about you joining the.
Could be. I mean, I was always going back and forth for like 3 months each to Austria and back because that's where I'm from. So I always travel back and forth from LA to Austria and back and forth. So at the moment I'm in Austria since like Christmas already because of COVID. And, you know, I basically go there, work on different kind of projects. If you can take them with me, that's great. If I work them from here, it's fine.
Whereas
literally the two places we can work from.
And you and your lady own a company. Do you want to promote it?
Oh, sure, yeah. We have a soap business as well. My wife makes natural bar soap. And we have a little bigger company we sell on Amazon, and it's called Opas Soap.
Spell it out.
opssoap.com.
Excellent. Yeah, I remember. I think I bought a bunch of like lavender stuff from you guys.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. So all natural, you know, and that's another like little passion. So basically, I'm always bored with the same thing over and over again. So I'm always trying with different things. So it's the same like this.
That's why we get into VFX. I feel like if
Well,
you
you
get
have to
bored
learn
of
all
the
the
same thing
time.
over and over, VFX is the right job for you because like I said, you're never running into the same thing twice.
It's true. Yeah. And by the way, you know, you mentioned about your shirt tracking.
Oh yeah.
Did you try the Lockdown plugin?
What is it called?
Lockdown.
No, I haven't.
That's exactly what you were saying. You can
Really?
have sheep with logos on it and leather jackets with wrinkles and everything, and After Effects plugin, and it works awesome.
Well, see, there's always something.
Yeah.
That leads me to my. I'll start. I know it's Sunday, so I'll start wrapping this up. But I wanted to go down the line, including Tim and Mario, because Mario did some masking on this and other VFX shots, and Tim created assets. So go down the line and talk about the programs that you, if you can think of them, the programs you use the most, just so we can have this recorded for people. Well, you've already mentioned like Cinema 4D and some of the other ones, but just go down the line and tell us all the toys that you guys are using.
Starting with me or going?
Start with Tim. He's first on my screen right now.
Yeah.
The programs that I use for the show have primarily been both Photoshop and Illustrator. Basically, for the show, doing title art and production art and graphic art. And also, outside of that, building assets. Justin, when we were working on the mirror animation, I remember I had to put the stock footage asset together because it was a mosaic of different people, because Mirror had acquired like these photos of people from all over the world, and it was like this mosaic effect. And I just remember you saying, I can definitely do it, I just don't want to have to put that asset together. So Mario
I feel like I did that a lot on this too, where I was like, okay, if you guys build this asset, I'll animate it, I'll put it in the shot, but like it'll take me twice as long to make all that stuff. And you did such a great job. Like, I mean, so many things, sorry not to cut you off, but like just the dark web design, the way the title looks is designed by Tim, right? Like you made that. I remember looking at that, and all I had to do was say, okay, he wants me to recreate this to bring it to life. That's all I have to do.
And a big thanks to Mario for the mirror effect, because apparently there's a stock website of royalty-free like portrait shots of people. So Mario gave me that website. Justin gave me the aspect ratio. So I think it was like literally 100 photographs of people that we use, and they all had to be at eye level, each and every one.
Yep.
So there was that, and then with the title art, Mike and Mario and we all knew what we want the title art to be, and the ice and the cherry on top of the cake was the whole mirror symbol, which is what Mario had drawn. So that definitely helped to get our title art to stand out from some of our competition. Amazon has so many dark web like films and shows out there that basically having the mirror symbol appear behind our title art just helped to make our show stand out more.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll go to Justin. What are your programs of choice?
Yeah, so you heard me talk about Cinema 4D and After Effects, Mocha for tracking, and Photoshop for, patching stuff up, cleaning stuff up. That's it for me. Like, I don't really dive into anything else. I'm learning, obviously, other things, but those are my go-tos at the moment.
Roberto?
Yeah, it's pretty much Adobe Creative Suite. And that's it. But it's funny that you were talking about making them make the assets, because I did that to them too. I'll put this on the computer, but I'm not making a big email asset. Can you do it, please?
I think ultimately the fact that we were able to make a lot of stuff in-house saved a lot of time and money. I mean, it was
Yeah.
more for us, and we were always constantly doing. There was always constantly some design that we had to do to get to one of you guys. But I think that we had that ability, and that we had sort of taught ourselves kind of more and more how to make these assets and do them, I think was helpful. And I think that's a big, you know, so if you're an indie person, a producer, indie filmmaker with any sort of creativity, any sort of graphic design experience, hone that, because you can save yourself a lot of time and money by getting at least part of that effect done and then giving it to someone else to finish.
And also coming from, because you guys are directing the thing, your vision is already shown in what you're designing. So there's no note process on the design. It's just sort of skipped to putting it into a shot. Like, whereas if I was designing it, you know, you guys would be like, oh, can we change this? Can we do that? You know, and that just takes extra time. So it's nice that you guys were the directors and could make that stuff.
Well, and to be clear, it was Tim and Mario generating that stuff, not.
So wait, so
me.
you were giving them notes, and you're like, they're like,
Not me. They were learned a lot of stuff on the fly, and I'm very grateful for you guys. I'm learning Photoshop now on lynda.com.
is that a plug?
I mean, it's actually
Did they sponsor this?
I wish. Maybe they will now.
Yeah.
enough credit. I mean, yes, Mario and I were doing like a lot of the photoshopping, but you had good notes and also gave us direction on, okay, it needs to look like this.
Yeah, good references too.
Yeah, so
I was doing the legal fact checking and stuff. That was me.
Yes.
That was definitely use it.
You know, the funny thing is I actually make producers a lot of the times because I'm working independent most of the time. I'll make them do stuff just so that it'll get done. Because if I do it, we'll go through notes forever. But if they do it, they don't want to keep giving themselves notes because then they have to keep doing it. So they'll just be like, this is good. And then we can move on.
That's good. Show the producers who's boss.
Right. Do you want this thing done or not?
Yeah. No, it's true. You can get overly precious about stuff. So it's, you know, like deadlines and things like that are good.
Yeah, I would always try to do mock-ups too. Whenever I was trying to, like, I think we did this, Justin, for the Henry mirror effect, where I did like a Photoshop mock-up of kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Just as a starting point so that everyone's kind of on the same page, and then you kind of run with it and do, you know.
That stuff was always helpful. Anytime you can get a visual and a jump start on that sort of thing, it just saves you one extra step, you know, from.
Well, Mario, oh, sorry, go ahead, Justin.
what was
No,
oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say what was particularly funny about that shot, the Henry mirror scare, is seeing the shot before the CGI was in there, because it was just Dwayne Shepard Sr., you know, looking up at the mirror, and it was almost
being startled by himself.
Yeah, startled by himself. That was pretty funny. But seeing Justin put the animation in there, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'd be scared if I saw that too.
So Mario, what programs have you been using? Like, because you did the original teaser and all that stuff.
So yeah, it's sort of a combination, the Adobe suite for sure. A lot of Premiere, just for editing and sort of simple animations. A lot of After Effects, more complex stuff, especially any sort of tracking or painting out. And then couple that with Photoshop for a lot of painting out. Like, so there have been times where I've taken a still, I've painted it out in Photoshop, and then I've kind of put that still into it and like just used a piece of it to cover a logo or whatever. Also, like we talked a little bit about Trapcode. There's a ton of companies that make plugins that do specific things, and Trapcode Universe, I think, is this one that had a ton of video treatment options. So you can make videos look like old VHS, because I used a ton in our trailer. You can make videos have glitches and do glitch transitions. And so that stuff's easy. They're very customizable. There's dozens and dozens of options. You can kind of tweak it exactly how you want it. And it's helpful to get kind of good looking stuff done quickly. A little bit of DaVinci Resolve for things. I use Film Convert too, which is a lot of sort of making stuff look grainy and looking more, and making digital stuff look more filmy. But yeah, it's sort of, Adobe is such a fully featured suite that there's almost always a way to do stuff in Adobe, you know.
What did you say? It was Trapcode? What's Trapcode?
Trapcode is
it's Red Giant.
Red Giant's the company, and Trapcode is there.
What does Trapcode do? I think this is new to me.
Red Giant Universe is what it is. 3.0.
Red Giant Universe, and then Trapcode's particular, right? It's particles,
Right.
which I have, but I have not. I got it to learn it. They were like having a sale. I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn this because I'm trying to learn more VFX, not because I want to do VFX, but because I want to understand how they work. Because I think it's also helpful when you're dealing with VFX artists to like understand what you're asking and to sort of understand what if they're saying this doesn't work because of this, you at least have some understanding of it.
Language.
And yeah, Red Giant Universe is all these different plugins.
Plugins for After Effects.
Yeah,
I used Trapcode for those sparks in the opening.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, the sparks. I was always asking for sparks. Well, you know what I use for all my VFX? Instagram.
Instagram filters.
So Tomas, you mentioned a lot of the program. You had some new ones that we hadn't heard of.
What? No, I didn't. I said Nuke, but I didn't use Nuke. But the other ones are basically the same like everybody else uses, like After Effects, MX and 4D, sorry. And lots of plugins which are within the After Effects bundles and revision effects. For example, we used on the one shot where the FBI guys came in, they saw the monitors and they were like reflecting on their faces. Like there are tons of plugins out there. You just gotta find the right ones which work for the scene, kind of thing. But usually Adobe Suite and Max and 4D, Cinema 4D, and they have alone a lot of plugins and render engines within them. So everything is just a learning curve constantly. But it's fun.
Very cool. Awesome.
Copilot has some good plugins too for indie filmmakers. True.
Say it again. Who does?
Video Copilot. I think they have some like sort of minor ones. They also have a 3D suite. I think that fits into After Effects. I'm blanking on the name now.
Element.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. So those are good, I think, affordable options for people who want.
They also have a free. I don't think I used it on this, but they have this free thing called Saber, which is basically like a lightsaber effect.
Cool. Oh yes, yes.
I use it like all the time now for some reason.
I use it all the time for title treatments. All the time. Yeah.
I was like, why is this free? It's so well designed. Except for, well, I won't crash it.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
There's also a good one, Heatwave.
Yeah.
A small heatwave where you can simulate like hazy heatwave distortions, which has like a Video Copilot too. I think it's free.
Mm-hmm. And we want to thank Pixabay.com for all of the fair use imageries that we use to generate.
There are so many. That's another thing too. Is there are a ton of really good websites that have free to use Creative Commons art, photographs. All of that stuff. Always check the licenses, make sure, sometimes with people, you have to make sure that there's a release and that sort of thing. But there are so many sites where photographers have submitted their stuff to be used in projects. Yeah. And so you can just use them. Sometimes all they ask is that you credit them. But that's super helpful for indie people on a budget also.
It's not another one, Pure Stock, Free
I remember Flash, Pexel. I remember Pixabay was our go-to for like all of the messages for like the phone.
Yeah.
I was also going to point out I use a plugin called Real Smart Motion Blur a lot. So a lot of times, especially doing VFX work, you get these assets that you need a blood spray or something like that. Well, half the time the blood, that they shot on set is shot slow motion and like perfectly crisp. Well, that doesn't always look like what it would look like when it comes out of someone. You have motion blur from the camera. I use Real Smart Motion Blur on almost everything I've ever done, like in some fashion. Like even like the thing I'm on right now, they have a lot of respeed of their footage. So they shot a lot of footage in slow motion. They need to respeed it, to 24p so that it doesn't play in slow motion in the cut. Well, as you guys probably know, anytime you kind of speed something up, it looks sped up. It doesn't, the motion blur kind of sort of becomes this very crisp image that doesn't really match the other 24p footage. I throw Real Smart on that stuff as well, just to make it feel like it was shot at 24 and not as slow and then sped up.
Also good for Cinema 4D renders, like if you have like no time to render motion blur.
Yeah, exactly. Because say if you want to add physical, like the physical render in Cinema 4D, if you want motion blur, it takes forever to render. But you could render it out without motion blur. Say something that takes like 16 hours might render out in like less than an hour without motion blur. You can then take Real Smart and throw it on, like what Thomas is saying.
Who makes Real Smart? Is that just that's
Revision?
What is it called?
Revision effects?
Yeah, revision effects, yeah.
So cool. So many toys. Do you guys have any other questions for each other? Otherwise, I will kindly wrap this up. Questions, comments, concerns, grievances? Well, thank you guys again for all you did for the show and for teaching me so many things and for bearing with us as we learned some things along the way. Rob. And we'll see you guys for Dark Web Season 2.
Yeah.
Maybe, perhaps.
It's nice to see you guys.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
And congrats on all your current endeavors. And Justin, a shout out for your Emmy nomination for the opening credits for Dark Web.
Pretty cool.
Sadly, we lost to Sesame Street. The one that got away.
I think what's funny is my mom was tracking that, and I think they had announced the animation category, and she's like, "Oh, you lost." I'm like looking at it, like, "Oh yeah, I lost." Wait, Mom, this is for the animation. They got it wrong.
Yeah,
I didn't lose it. Oh my God, I could still win. And then
I know.
I lost twice.
I know.
I always loved the Muppets. Yeah, I said it.
Oh, I was like, I think my wife called, and same here. I was like, as soon as we saw Sesame Street on, they were like, "How are they not going to give us the 50th?" You know, I was like, it doesn't even matter what they made.
If you gotta lose to Sesame Street.
Right, lose to paper.
We did a whole segment on this building the dark web thing about loss, about losing with
grieving your awards.
With dignity. Losing with dignity, which we didn't do. Off camera, we didn't do that, but on camera. That's all that matters. All that matters. Well, thank you guys so much for everything. Happy Sunday. Stay safe and healthy, and because we need you. And till next time.
Be well and safe, everyone.
Thanks. You too, guys.
Bye.